The world is watching a small, remote part of the ocean, the South China Sea. Though it may seem distant to many, what happens here ripples across continents, affecting millions of lives far beyond its shores. It's become a flashpoint for rising tensions, especially after a recent collision between Chinese and Philippine ships. The incident, caught on camera, sent shockwaves through the region and made headlines worldwide. Many believe this was no accident, but the latest in a series of confrontations that have been building for years. Each encounter adds another layer of mistrust and uncertainty, making the waters even more volatile. The stakes are high. This isn't just a local dispute, but one with global implications. Over a third of the world's maritime trade passes through these waters, making the South China Sea a vital artery for the global economy. China claims almost the entire South China Sea, using its 9-dash line on maps. This sweeping claim covers vast stretches of ocean, including areas rich in resources and crucial shipping lanes. But the Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, and Brunei also claim parts, citing international law and their own historical ties to the region. These overlapping claims have led to a tangled web of disputes and diplomatic standoffs. In 2016, an international court sided with the Philippines, rejecting China's sweeping claim. The ruling was hailed as a victory for international law, but it did little to change the reality on the water. China ignored the ruling, escalating its presence and confrontations in the region. Its Coast Guard and Navy have built artificial islands, deployed ships, and asserted control over disputed areas, raising the risk of conflict. The Philippines is a U.S. treaty ally, so any attack could draw in the United States. American warships regularly patrol the area, signaling their commitment to defend freedom of navigation and support their allies. That's why every move here is closely watched by leaders in Washington, Beijing, and Manila. Behind closed doors, diplomats and military strategists weigh every decision, knowing that a single miscalculation could have far-reaching consequences. The region's stability and global trade hang in the balance. Any disruption could send shockwaves through supply chains, affecting everything from electronics to energy supplies worldwide. We'll break down what happened during the collision, what both sides are saying, and the history behind these tensions. Understanding the facts is crucial to grasping the stakes involved. By understanding the context, we can see why this conflict is so dangerous. It's not just about territory, it's about power, influence, and the rules that govern the world's oceans. This is a story of sovereignty, resources, and national pride. Beneath the surface lie vast reserves of oil, gas, and rich fishing grounds, resources that are vital for the economies and identities of the nations involved. The rules are contested, and power dynamics are constantly shifting. Each nation tests the limits, seeking to assert its rights while avoiding open conflict. The South China Sea is now a stage for a high-stakes geopolitical drama. The world's eyes are fixed on these waters, waiting to see what happens next. What happens here could shape the future of the Indo-Pacific. The choices made in these troubled waters will echo for generations. Let's dive into the heart of the dispute and uncover why the South China Sea matters to us all. The South China Sea is one of the world's most vital maritime crossroads, a vast expanse of water connecting the Pacific and Indian Oceans. Every day, hundreds of ships, ranging from massive oil tankers to container vessels, navigate these busy lanes, making it a true artery of global commerce. About a third of all global shipping, worth trillions of dollars, passes through these waters every year. This includes not just finished goods, but also essential raw materials like oil, gas, and food supplies, making the sea a lifeline for economies far beyond Asia. Any disruption here, whether from conflict, piracy, or political standoffs, could send shockwaves through the global economy, causing delays, shortages, and price spikes that would be felt worldwide. The sea is also rich in oil, natural gas, and fisheries, resources that are crucial for the livelihoods of millions in Southeast Asia. These resources fuel power plants, feed families, and drive local industries. For countries like the Philippines, Vietnam, and China, control over these resources means energy security, economic growth, and thousands of jobs for their people. But the struggle isn't just about resources. It's also about national pride, history, and sovereignty. Deeply emotional issues that stir strong feelings among citizens and leaders alike. The Philippines calls its claimed area the West Philippine Sea, defending it fiercely as part of its national territory and identity, with regular patrols and legal actions. For China, its sweeping claims are tied to its sense of national destiny and its ambitions as a rising global power, making compromise difficult. This volatile mix of economic interests, resource competition, and nationalism makes the dispute explosive and unpredictable, with the risk of miscalculation always present. China has built artificial islands and military outposts, expanding its reach and alarming neighbors, as well as the United States, which sees freedom of navigation at risk. The Philippines, with a much smaller military, leans on international law and its alliance with the US to push back, seeking support in global courts and through joint exercises. These tensions set the stage for dangerous encounters at sea, where a single misstep could escalate into a larger crisis. The world's attention is fixed on what happens next, as decisions made here could shape the future of international law, trade, and security. The stakes couldn't be higher. The South China Sea is not just a regional flashpoint, it's a test of global order, and the outcome will affect us all. The latest incident erupted at 2nd Thomas Shoal, also known as Ayungin Shoal, a remote and contested reef in the Spratly Islands of the South China Sea. This area has become a focal point of rising tensions between regional powers, drawing international attention to its strategic significance. In 1999, the Philippines deliberately grounded the BRP Sierra Madre, a World War II-era Navy ship, on the shoal. Since then, it has been continuously manned by a small detachment of Philippine Marines, serving as a living outpost and a powerful symbol of the country's claim to the territory. The ship, battered by the elements, stands as a testament to the Philippines' determination to maintain its presence. Regular resupply missions are essential to sustain the Marines stationed on the Sierra Madre. These missions, often carried out in difficult conditions, have become increasingly dangerous as tensions rise. The most recent collision occurred during one such routine resupply run, highlighting the risks faced by those involved. China, which claims nearly the entire South China Sea, views these Philippine missions as illegal intrusions into what it considers its own territory. Chinese Coast Guard and maritime militia vessels frequently attempt to block or harass Philippine boats, escalating the standoff. In recent months, Chinese vessels have used increasingly aggressive tactics, including water cannons and dangerous close maneuvers, to deter Philippine supply boats. These confrontations have led to several near misses and raised fears of a more serious incident. This time, the situation escalated further. A Chinese Coast Guard vessel collided directly with a Philippine supply boat, causing damage and sparking outrage in Manila. The Philippine government condemned the collision as a deliberate act of aggression, accusing China of endangering lives and violating international law. In contrast, Beijing blamed the Philippines, alleging reckless navigation and provocation. Both sides quickly released video footage to support their competing narratives, each seeking to sway international opinion and justify their actions. The incident marks a dangerous new escalation in a long-running standoff, with both countries refusing to back down and tensions running higher than ever. Each side continues to accuse the other of provocation, fueling a war of words that shows no sign of abating. As the world watches, international leaders and analysts are left to interpret two sharply conflicting narratives, raising concerns about the potential for miscalculation. With both sides on high alert and no resolution in sight, the risk of further escalation, and even open conflict, remains very real. Manila insists the shoal is within its exclusive economic zone, backed by international law. The 2016 tribunal ruling supports the Philippines' right to resupply its troops. Any Chinese interference is seen as illegal coercion. The Philippines released footage showing its small supply boat being rammed by a larger Chinese ship. The government framed the crew as heroes standing up to a powerful neighbor. The incident has fueled nationalism and strengthened calls for international support. Allies like the US, Japan, and Australia have voiced concern and support for the Philippines. The David versus Goliath narrative resonates at home. Manila's resolve to defend its waters has only grown. China's version is starkly different. Beijing calls its actions lawful enforcement within its own territory, rejecting the 2016 ruling. China claims the Philippine mission was an illegal intrusion and accuses Manila of breaking promises to remove the Sierra Madre. Chinese officials say their ship was stationary when the Philippine boat made a reckless turn. State media frames China as defending its sovereignty against foreign provocation. The narrative is aimed at both domestic and international audiences. China warns other claimants not to challenge its claims. This collision is just the latest in a long series of confrontations. In 2012, China seized Scarborough Shoal after a standoff, blocking Filipino fishermen. The Philippines responded by taking China to court, leading to the 2016 ruling. China ignored the verdict and built artificial islands with military facilities. Under President Marcos Jr., the Philippines has become more assertive, increasing patrols and calling out Chinese actions. Water cannon attacks and even lasers have been used against Philippine vessels. Chinese maritime militia swarm and intimidate Filipino boats. Each incident raises tensions and the risk of escalation. The latest collision is a dangerous step beyond previous gray zone tactics. The region is on edge. After the collision, both sides launched an information war. The Philippines released videos and eyewitness accounts, portraying itself as the victim. China countered with edited footage and official statements blaming the Philippines. Each side fights for international support and domestic approval. Social media and global news amplify the battle for public opinion. The Philippines uses transparency to rally allies. China leverages its state media to defend its actions. The truth is contested, and the world is left to judge. The collision raises the risk of miscalculation and escalation. A more serious incident could trigger the US-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty. Other Southeast Asian claimants are watching closely, gauging China's next move. If China faces no consequences, it may act more aggressively elsewhere. The Philippines vows to continue resupply missions. China shows no sign of backing down. Both sides may increase their military presence, raising the stakes. The US and allies have condemned China's actions and pledged support for Manila. Joint patrols and naval exercises may become more common. Diplomacy and crisis management are urgently needed to prevent disaster. ASEAN faces pressure to play a more active role, but consensus is hard to achieve. The collision is a symptom of deep, unresolved disputes in the South China Sea. China's assertiveness and the Philippines' pushback have brought tensions to a dangerous new level. Both sides present conflicting narratives, fueled by nationalism. The risk of military escalation is real, especially with US involvement possible. Effective communication and diplomacy are essential to prevent conflict. The world is watching to see if law or force will decide the sea's future. The choices made now will shape the region's peace and stability. The South China Sea remains a test for the international order.